every day when I learn something in real estate or in business, and I'm able to grow as a person, it's like a dump of adrenaline every single day.
All right, so it's my brother from another mother, as we were joking about a minute ago. The Neil and Neela show, as he likes to say. Welcome to the call, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me on, Neil.
Neil, it's nice to see you. Yeah, I feel like we're in an echo chamber.
I feel like I'm looking in a mirror. What's going on?
Yeah, it's a good-looking guy over there. So we are talking about you today, your brand and your business. And for those folks who don't know, I don't always like, everybody has a bio and this kind of stuff, and it's great to read the bullet points, but it's better to hear it from you about who you are and what is really important for you to talk. So I'm going to shut up for just a second and let everybody hear a little bit about who you are.
Ooh, who am I? I'm a kid that grew up in a hood in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Didn't have a lot in the way of mentorship and that, and have really grown.
Yeah, hold on. The hood in Toronto, that's like the Silicon Valley of, like, what's the hood in Toronto look like?
Well, believe it or not, the hood in Toronto has got knives and guns, and
okay.
Yeah, it is on that
knives
level.
and guns in Canada.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And then you guys had to go start trying to ban guns and different types, and and then they started it up here. But no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
but it was, we had a hood we have different areas that are rough parts of Toronto. I mean, it is a city
Absolutely.
of 7+ million people, right? And and so we have our rougher areas, and I happen to grow up in one. My father's an alcoholic. We came here at a time when, quite frankly, it wasn't okay to be my color skin, and so there was a lot of different things growing up in that area like that, and I share that because it's also something that really motivates me in now and has for years, in that valuing mentorship, valuing other people's input, being able to have that, because at that time my best mentors were drug dealers, and so I share openly with people that the things that made sense at that time were based on my mentors. And if you're trying to do certain things and you're trying to be in this life, you need to have powerful mentors. And so since then I've gotten into real estate investing, as you Americans like to call it, hard money lending. Is
that your best American accent?
That's my.
That wasn't bad. That was actually really good.
in America. In America. Yeah, there you go. I know you guys like to call it hard money lending. And we call it private mortgages here. And we do call it hard money lending as well. So I'm into that as well. And just regular home financing, but we also do real estate acquisitions, and I've just as I've grown in life, wife, 4 kids, you just realize that there is so much more that you can actually do, and that's my shtick these days.
Well, let's unpack that a little bit more, because there's a lot to what you just said, and you have learned a lot, as I know I've come to get to know you better. And obviously, going from someone who was mentored by drug dealers to the man you are today is a big stretch. Give us some more insights into how you got out of that, and how you broke out of that lifestyle.
Yeah. First of all, growing up in an alcoholic family, you deal with a lot of denial, and you're trying to figure out your own self-worth, quite frankly, and so you're looking for where you fit in, and on the street, I just had to be crazy, because the craziest dudes tend to run things, and I knew what crazy looked like. I lived it every day, and so I fit in quite well on the street. But yet there was another side of me that said, I want respect, not fear. And so there was always a challenge while I was living that life, even as I was causing trouble. And luckily, I never got in trouble with the law. I never got caught, is really what I should say. And we used to be in gang fights and stuff like that. And it came down to one time I almost died in a knife fight and almost bled to death. And that was a pretty big, I say that with a bit of a smile, but it was a pretty big motivator to,
yeah, that's a pretty big motivator. Yeah.
And there's lots of little pieces in there where, if we get into things of faith, I definitely talk about that.
Yes.
Because there were just so many coincidences that you have to look at it and go, you know what, the probabilities of all of these things happening.
Too many coincidences to be mathematically impossible.
And so at some point you just go, all right, someone's throwing me a lifeline. I'm getting a second chance. Let's try to do something. And quite frankly, it took me about, 10 years to kind of even leave that lifestyle and change behaviors, I moved to the East Coast of Canada. I got to just be a different human being. I was out of that situation. Had I stayed, I probably would have got pulled back in, but I happened to move out to the East Coast. And really over the next 10 years, just started learning different things about human interaction, getting to hang out with people, learning how people did things, and got a girlfriend, got married, had kids, and just really moved my life in a completely different direction.
Yeah, right. From the streets to the sheets. So you've got obviously grown into that role through some hardships. And there are people maybe listening to this that will resonate with that story. And you mentioned faith, which you and I both know is a big component of our successes, as we've said to each other. And unpack that a little bit more for me. Like what was that journey that led you to, we'll get into the business more, but I want to make sure people understand the genuine side of you. As I've come to know you, and what really turns, that momentum you've got and that faith that pushed you forward. Give us some more examples where you saw things that were just simply not coincidences in how you reached the place that you're at now.
Right. Okay. Well, within that, I'll unpack it a little bit more. So, I was trying to kind of pull out of that lifestyle. It wasn't authentic to me. There was too much violence, and I couldn't leave it behind. It's what I'd grown up with. And then different things started happening. A girlfriend broke up with me, and I was like, okay, whatever. I was in a fight and someone else got hurt quite severely, and something would happen. Like, I remember one fight, it was just as simple as someone wanted a baseball bat, or I was like, hey, there's some wood over there. I ran over to that, hopped the fence, grabbed this piece of wood, and went to hop the fence. And because, in the streets, you fight with whatever you've got.
Whatever you can get.
And literally, I hopped over a fence to pick that up, and, out come these other guys, and now they're fighting. And I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm hopping back, running back over, and people don't realize fights actually happen really quickly. It's not like this long drawn out thing. And so by the time I get back, my friend has already been stabbed. I've missed the fight. And there were, times like this, people with shootings and things like that, just small, minuscule things where in that moment I wasn't there. And I thought, how did, you start counting all of those up. And then when I did get into that knife fight, there were so many things, including the fact that there was about 21 guys fighting two of us. And then in bleeding out, or I was bleeding, didn't know I was bleeding because you're so much adrenaline, going to the hospital, and then get to the hospital, and they're like, hey, this guy's worse. And so they put me into the ER, and then they immediately stop and they throw a blanket over me, and because they've got 3 heart failures at that exact time that they've got to go run to, because and so they take off, and so I'm lying on a table bleeding to death, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I just fought 21 guys and they couldn't put me in a grave. And that's how how much bravado was there, right? I was like, King Kong's got nothing on me.
Right. Feeling a little invincible, were you?
Yeah, that's right. To quote Denzel,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
but as I lay there bleeding,
Yeah.
and my life force literally seeping down my sides, and then I started to go into shock. I started a cold sweat, all of these things, and I started going, oh, maybe I am going to die. And just as I was blacking out and passing out, they were now working on me. They'd come back, not realizing that I'd been bleeding to death on the table. They came back, and then they started trying to wrap me up because they didn't even have time to stitch me up at this point. And just as they pulled the bandages, I came to again, and I thought, and just as I was blacking out, I was like, okay, God, I guess I am dying. I guess it's time. Here I come. And then in that moment, I could see again. And it was kind of like, okay, again, nothing in and of itself. But then as you start looking at all the different pieces, I started realizing that I had to come right to the edge of realizing that I might actually die before I could start coming back and looking at all these different pieces, including the fact that one of the slash wounds just barely, well, actually 6 of them just barely missed my spine. 4 of them just barely missed my kidneys. So much so that the first doctor that came in said, I'm not touching him. Get another doctor. You start adding these up and you go, okay, just barely missed my spine, just barely missed my kidneys. Just any one of these things would have
so close,
right? Would have finished it. And so I lay all of those things on the table, along with a whole list of others to go. There are just too many coincidences in all of that to, and the hospital that I was in, within 20 minutes of me leaving, got shut down for a super virus, a super bug. And so much so I got home, turned on the news, and they said the hospital was shut down. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Too many coincidences.
So there you go. That's still the short version, believe it or not.
That's awesome, though. But it gives us perspective on you. Thank you for sharing that. And
it just made me realize I've got a second chance here.
Yeah,
let's advantage. Consider it.
Yeah, I mean, if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here today interviewing you. And there's so many of those little decisions as I think back on my life too, and the things that were really struggles or things that almost killed me, as you've very eloquently described to yourself here, were things I look back on now as all those minute decisions that led to where I'm at now. And I wouldn't actually, and maybe you wouldn't, you'll have to tell us, change any of that as hard as it was for me, because I want to be where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And I can say that sincerely. And I think you could say that too, can you?
Yes. It's why I actually smile when I talk about these things, because I love sharing that at one point I thought killing a man was a legitimate thought in my mind. Actually, killing a bunch of men was not that I wanted to kill anybody, but it just made sense for where I was at that point in time.
Yeah.
And I smile because I look at it and go, I'm not that guy anymore. Right?
Yeah.
So
that was truly your net worth is your network. And you who was your 5 favorite drug dealers that you like to put yourself in, right?
All those guys that I was thinking of killing. So,
right. So you obviously changed some things about who you were. And it sounds like a faith was a part of that. What happened in the next steps that kind of leads us to where we are today? Like what, obviously you found a life, you found a change. What happened next?
Yeah. So I actually started going out to church after that. There's a whole story there, but I started going out to church. They asked for volunteers. That's how I ended up going to the East Coast of Canada and volunteering with the church out there. And over the next number of years, sort of learning to be a normal part of society. And when I got married and I started having kids, I started asking myself the question, what am I going to teach my kids? Because I remembered what it was like for me growing up, and I thought nothing was ever good enough. And so I thought, all right, I have to just teach these kids to be their best. And when I had that thought, and I was like, yeah, that's definitely what I need to teach them. And then the next question was, do I give my best?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was working for the government at the time, and I realized that as amazing as government jobs are, they are not built to maximize your potential.
Yeah, that's right.
There's just, in fact, I actually got in trouble with the union a couple of times because I would do too much. I would take on extra jobs here and there, and they were like, no, you can't do that. You're taking away a job from potentially someone else. So, in fact, you have to step back from some of these things. And so, at that point in time, I just started realizing I needed to maximize my potential outside of the workplace. And what I realized from growing up in the hood was that I loved real estate. And because we didn't have any, I didn't have a patch of grass to mow or anything like that.
Yeah, who cared at that point, right?
Yeah, so it just didn't even seem reasonable, like that was a possibility for me when I was growing up. But now all of a sudden, I thought, this is, we had bought a house at that point, and I thought, yeah, I kind of like real estate, and I realized that there was some authenticity because I had grown up without any of those things. And so that's when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and lo and behold, started me down a whole road of learning, looking for mentors, and getting into real estate. And here I am.
The real estate component of it, obviously, for those who are listening, they know that my business is an e-com, but one of the things we're here to do is focus on all the different ways that you can, deploy capital, as we'd like to say here in America. Or, you got Hardmode and Linden up there in Toronto. And that is obviously, you're doing it better than I am. And I'm in the country. How does that work out? Is to understand, the real estate game is where most millionaires are made. In my history of doing e-com, I've been honored and privileged to see a lot of people move from situations, not some instances, not too unlike yours, not as obviously as unique as yours, but from challenged places to places of opportunity and abundance. And, in your story, there's a lot of scarcity to your life and to the things you were doing. And the man I see in front of me is a man of abundance. Where did that shift beyond the book as you got maybe into your first business deals or your first things? Where did that clear, obvious scarcity you had in your life, not just from assets, but things or the way you thought about life, change into abundance? Like, where did that shift?
That's great question. For starters, making a shift into my faith. That was huge, just to realize, first of all, I've got a God of abundance. And then there's been a lot where people have really talked, as you get into business and the more further you go down that road, the more you realize that it's really all about your mindset. Everything is already out there. Even in the Bible, it literally, God talks about, here's the land. I've already given it to you. You just have to go take it. And so what I've learned is that it's really whatever you want to do is there for you to put your hands to. And you're able to go find that satisfaction. It doesn't give you any value. None of these things that we acquire, the properties, the businesses, none of these things really give us any value. You make money, but they don't give us value. But in your being, and this is something I actually talk about a lot, it's about who you're being. We're literally called human beings, but who are you being? And oftentimes we worry more about what do I have to do rather than who am I being, and letting who you're being dictate what gets done. And for instance, I love to share that I'm a juggernaut, and a juggernaut is something that can't be stopped. And so in being a juggernaut, when things come up, what is there for me to do? Go through it. It's not going to stop me. And
breaking down barriers.
Yeah, breaking down barriers. Absolutely. Right.
Barriers. Yeah, that's actually more sexy than mine. See, I'm a hedgehog. So, I'm a small rodent and you're a giant juggernaut. So just don't run over me, would you?
well, you know what I've realized, and this is something, if I can speak to the entrepreneurs here, is that no one likes to look at their negative traits, right? The bad side of them. And that's something that I looked at because I've realized that is where my superpowers come from. My three greatest negative traits are I'm lazy, I'm stubborn, and I'm egotistical. And the beauty of that is that because I'm lazy, I love building teams. I love building a team of experts, people who know what they're doing in their fields and learning to trust them. So I build a team as a result, as a counter to being lazy. I hate doing work twice. So efficiency is important to me. Stubborn, because I'm stubborn, the other side, I'm a juggernaut. I turn that into, I'm going to keep going. And the things that oftentimes people are like, oh, that's too hard. And that's par for the course. Let's go. Let's find something else to
cop out a little. Yeah.
Push. And besides, I came from the hood. A lot of these things aren't equivalent. They're not as hard. I've almost died in a knife fight. There's few things that are going to be as difficult. And then thirdly, I refer to it as being prideful or egotistical. And I hate being wrong. I hate making mistakes. I hate all of that stuff. There's a bit of that not good enough complex in there. And
the lies.
Absolutely. And what that does is it drives me to learn and grow. And so every day when I learn something in real estate or in business and I'm able to grow as a person, it's like a dump of adrenaline every single day. Oh man, I learned something new. Let's go.
Yeah, those are amazing traits. I mean, and I hope people are really resonating with that because I think, the thing we try to break down, I know that you do and I do as well, is try to get people not to just see, again, as you said, all the really nice things and try to be transparent and say, remember to, as Jim Collins said, pick up the rock and look at the ugly things underneath it. And one of the things we all have to, I think, at times be okay with and forgive ourselves is that, as Jordan Peterson has said, there's a monster inside of all of us. And the trick is to keep him at bay and hope that he never comes out again, because we are all capable of things. We're all capable of doing things we don't want to be capable of doing. And the choices we make and the perseverances and the overcoming that and remembering to stay in that mindset of abundance is a difficult thing. While I was never in a knife fight, I was in a bar fight in Trinidad at 3 a.m. in the morning and outran the police into the city on foot. So there's that.
Whereabouts in Trinidad?
Yeah, Tobago and Trinidad. It was nice. A little bar downtown. Yeah, fun times. There was no knives involved. At least I didn't have a knife.
Yeah, you were running too fast for them to catch you.
I was moving out. Yeah, I wasn't sticking around to find out. But that was an interesting experience for another story. But I understand that perseverance. I understand those traits. I have them myself, and I think that you have had the capability and blessing to overcome that and to see that and keep that monster inside of you, but then refocus it into those areas where, and I'm not saying you're a monster, please don't take it that way.
No. I actually, if I could just say this, I actually acknowledge the monster and I don't try to keep it inside. I love what you just said about refocusing. I actually want those monsters to come out and play, but I give them instructions.
Yeah, that's right. Control.
That's how I try to look at it is, okay, this monster's there. I can either try to stuff it in or I can let it come out and go, okay, here's where I want you to go.
Yes.
The laziness, team build, right? The stubbornness, break through walls, and the egotistical, go learn something.
Right. For me, it's arrogance and pride. I have to be careful with arrogance and pride.
Yeah.
Those are dangerous traits. And I try to refocus those, as you've just said, into usable things and as much as possible, try to hold them back. Now, they all have a place in some way. And I typically am the kind of guy that likes to joke it off so that I can refocus and push it backwards. But I think we all understand why we do those things at times. And mainly it's to make other people feel comfortable. But it's one thing that I know as an entrepreneur, and as you've just explained very well in your story, comfort is not part of the game. Comfort can come at times, but it is not a goal or a destination you achieve and then you unlock it and it stays there. It is something that, as you have just said, is an everyday experience. It is something every day we get up and work to achieve. The comfort we have for ourselves, the things we don't want anymore, the stuff we want for our children, the stuff we don't want to go back to, the stuff we don't want them to be involved in from our own past and lives. And I think you're doing a bang up job now with the way you were doing things, as I understand it. And explain to the people now a little bit where the entrepreneur component kind of came out for you and what you're doing today, and maybe what you're going to be doing in next year to really continue to expand and continue to level up your business.
Oh, I'd love to touch on this. And what I'd love to say about, and literally segueing right off of what you were saying there, is that we are built. You don't have to have any faith base to look at us as an organism and realize that we are built to do hard things. Everything bad comes when we do nothing. Everything bad. Your muscles atrophy, your body starts to fall apart. All of these things happen when we do nothing. We are literally built to handle hard things. And as entrepreneurs, when we realize that, and you take that on as something in your life to do, to take on the hard things, the things that occur as hard and difficult, all of a sudden it becomes more enjoyable. And the one thing that I did to battle my pride and arrogance and egotistical nature is I really took on a heart of serving others. I think Tony Robbins talks about this, where he said, the more people that you serve, the more that you will make. And I started taking my eyes off of what do I want? How much am I trying to make? All of these things, and started thinking, who can I make money for? Who can I help to do that? How many people can I do that with? And realizing the more people that I make rich, the richer I get, or the more people I help out. When it comes to real estate, if you buy a multi-family property and you've got 20 people living there, if you're going to serve them, you're going to make sure that they have a good living place, heated, electricity, all of these, it's safe, it's all of these things. They're able to build their life. You're literally taking care of them. And in exchange, they pay you. It's craziest thing out there. They're going to pay you, and they're going to pay you more. And so you take care of them. And if you build that relationship, right? In private lending, I'm always looking for the relationships that care about building people up. And so as a team, we're always working together to make sure that every time we lend money, it's going to be a benefit for both sides of the equation. For us, we're going to make some money, but for the person that's borrowing the money, it's beneficial for them. And maybe there's little pieces that we can help them in what they're trying to do as well. Yeah. And for me, it's huge to really look at the side of service to others. And so for the new year, you asked that question about the new year. What's the plans for the new year? And a lot of it is, who can I serve more? And I think one of the big things that I've seen is there are a lot of amazing professionals that I know that do not get as much admiration or as much airtime as they should. And so one of the things I've really taken on is, how do I get amazing individuals like yourself more airtime so that more people can see high level professionals that are able to really help them build. I mean, you help people in creating online businesses, which quite frankly, you can make so much more in an online business than you can in real estate. It's not even funny, but and you literally are going to teach people how to do that. And so you need to respect, from my standpoint, you have to respect and you have to honor a person like that really cares to serve other people.
Servant leadership is a huge component of leveling up in my mind. And I'm glad that you said that, because I know you're one of those guys. And hopefully for the people that are listening, they understand that about your story today, from literally the situation you came from in life to where you are now and to the things you're doing that are so wonderful and so powerful. And I am honored that you came on the show today. Any final words you might have for the audience that's listening out today?
It's really why I called my podcast the Leadership to Wealth podcast, because it's not about the money. It's about the leadership. It's about who you become and who you are in this world. And so for all the entrepreneurs out there that are building their dreams, that are creating a life for them and their family, keep at it, continue to level up. And the best advice that I can give you is surrounding yourself with, they say you are the sum of the top 5 people in your life. So really raise that level, and you'll continue to grow.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you for saying that. And how could the good people here get a hold of you if they want to talk about hard money lending or private lending?
Yeah. If you want to talk about any of those things, well, you can find me leadershiptowealth.com, or you can find me on social media, Neil _D'Souza. I'm all over the place. So just type in Neil D'Souza and look for me, or Neil Mortgages, and you can find me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. Again, it's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thanks,
and I thank you for coming on the show.
All right. Thanks a lot.